Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 video, and this time we're not doing a cart battle video, we're not doing a collaboration video, we're not even doing a team building video, but what we are doing is more of a spotlight video where I'm taking a look at a Pokemon or two in this case in particular, and why I think they're very important to consider or think about when team building, or what they mean to the meta at the moment. And the one that I'm looking at first of the two is Kartana, and Kartana is something that people have forgotten about, and for a very long time they have. It was very strong in Series 7, you know, when the Sword and Shield DLC first started, not the main DLC, but with the addition of the Ultra Beast. So Kartana was strong there, and it was also strong again in Series 8, and partly because Kartana likes Dynamax, because you get those max overgrowth, those max steel spikes, those max airstreams. You go for big damage, you double your health, and if you look at Kartana's health pool, isn't that big to begin with. So if you can double your health in Dynamax and deal big damage, you're doing yourself a lot of favors. And then when you kill something, you get a beast boost, and it's already really fast. It's faster than base 100s. So Kartana very, very much loved Dynamax, but when it went away in Series 10, people just didn't use it. It was just too frail, and it didn't offer enough to teams that merited a slot on a squad, right? So, but now what has ended up happening is in Series 12, as the meta has continued to yet again develop, Kartana has seen a rise in usage, and I think that's good, and I think there's a lot of reasons why Kartana has risen once again. And if we take a look at a couple of results for some recent tournaments, as just some evidence as to proof why Kartana has done so well, let's take a look at one. Let's take a look at this one first. So this is someone that I know. This is Event Horizon, and if you don't know Event Horizon, they recently a top cut Hatterene series with my Zerndon team, but with a couple of changes. They swapped out the Venusaur for Kartana, and along with a couple of other EV spreads or some move choices like the Groudon. But the point is, Kartana did really, really well for Event Horizon. They used it. They felt it was better than Venu because it just wasn't. Venu got worse. Let me just say right now, Venu kind of got worse, and Kartana actually looks really, really strong. And there's a lot of positive matchups for Kartana, and so Event Horizon put good use to it, and they top cut the Hatterene series. So well done to them. But now, if we look at a more recent tournament, which was, I believe, Victory Road. Right, so if you take a look at this, yeah, this is the stat. So yes, I know that Joe won, but what you should also take a look at is look at the top cut result, and let's see if there's a Kartana here. And there actually is. There's one here from Gabriel Agati, and then there's another one here from Victor Medina, and with good reason. And I think it makes a lot of sense when you put it on something like Kyogre. So the question now is, okay, so look, you got two Kartanas in the top cut now, and then you had one from Hatterene series. So why is Kartana rising again? What does it offer to a team to merit its usage on a squad? So let's go back into Showdown, and let's see what it can do. So okay, normally it's made use of an Assault Vest. It can use Focus Sash, but Assault Vest is a very good item, and it's got two stab moves with Leaf Blade as the common one, Smart Strike for the Steel move. Then it has Sacred Sword, just like Zacian, and then Max Airstream with Aerial Ace. These are like the four common moves that Kartana has. And look at that base attacks at 180. Okay, that's stronger than Zacian, but not really, because Zacian gets a +1. But in terms of base statage, that attack stat of 181 is incredible. And then you have very, very bulky defense, and then you have strong speed. The only thing you're lacking is the HP and the very, very poor special defense, but that's why you have the Assault Vest. And the thing is, okay, so Kartana is very weak to Incineroar because one Flare Blitz and you can kill like 5 Kartanas and its family. But if you put it on something like this, where you have Kyogre on the team to reduce that fire damage, and then you add more speed control and more chip with something like Regieleki, and then you add your own Incineroar for something like Intimidate. Alright, and then either you add something like a Grimmsnarl or a Tornadus, and then you add your own Zacian, for example, something like this. And now all of a sudden, you know, Kartana looks like it has all the support it needs to do really, really well. Because now, you know, Incin can't do anything here because, you know, Kyogre is on the team waiting to give it a water spout in the mouth. You know, the Sun teams, you know, with Charizard, they're going to have a hard time because, you know, again, with the Kyogre and the Regieleki, you know, Charizard doesn't have the best of advantages here. And then Kartana, you know, with this kind of moveset, with the 2 stabs, the Sacred Sword and the Aerial Ace, so max Airstream, max Knuckle, right, max Steel Spike, and then max Overgrowth. What can you do here? So one also reason why Kartana is also rising up again is because there's a sudden resurgence of a certain water slug that's also on Kyogre teams, and that goes by the name of Gastrodon. And also there's one more, it's the frog, and it's called Seismitoad. So if you think about, you know, where the meta is right now, you know, Seismitoad, Gastrodon, and Kyogre, these are like the main big water types. And then on those Calyrex, Zacian teams, you know, there's Blastoise, right? So these are like the big water types that's running around in the meta, and you need a strong grass type Pokemon to be able to deal with it. Now technically Rillaboom can do that, but Rillaboom has seen a drop, and for good reason, because there's too much Incineroar, there's too much Zacian running around, and it just doesn't really do well at the moment. But it's still very, very good, it's still very, very strong. I think Rillaboom is still one of the top Pokemon to use in the meta, but it has dipped a little bit. But why has Kartana risen? Well, you know, again, you have the grass coverage for these mons. You know, you can always just one-shot everything here with a Leaf Blade, and then you get a +1, and now all of a sudden, with that Beast Boost pressure, you one-shot everything now, especially if you're the fastest thing on the field. Okay, so that's one thing. And then, you know, as we continue, when we look at the main list from Pikalytics, alright, I don't know why it has Necrozma Dustman here, but look at this. Alright, so look, Incin, if you already have +1, this gets 1 shot from Sacred Sword. Kyogre, we just said, gets 1 shot from Leaf Blade. Regieleki, same idea. Sacred Sword, Leaf Blade, 1 shot. Grimmsnarl, Smart Strike, 1 shot. Okay, Thundurus, alright, that one we can skip. That one can deal with it a little bit. Venusaur, max Airstream. Rillaboom, max Airstream, right? You have Aerial Ace. Landorus, I mean, it takes neutral from Leaf Blade, but, you know, what can Landorus really do to Kartana? Not a whole lot. We can resist a lot of its attacks, and then, you know, Leaf Blade just does over 50 to 60%, and then you can just KO it next turn. And if you have a +1, you can almost one-shot it. Amoonguss, one-shot it. You have an Aerial Ace. Tornadus, we can skip. That's just a, you know, a standard mod. Calyrex, now you, with the Assault Vest, you can take 1, okay, but you have to be careful, and this is where like something like Grimmsnarl and the Assault Vest really, really help Kartana. Groudon, you have Leaf Blade. Yveltal, you can deal with it. You have a Sacred Sword, but you know, it's like even, right? Calyrex, all right, if there's no Trick Room, you have max Steel Spike, okay? Zapdos, kind of like the Thundurus, you know, it does, you know, wall it a little bit, but not crazily, right? Whimsicott, you know, that's just a con ball. Anything can punt that thing. Then again, here we go. All right, Indeedee. Gastrodon, again, we just said we can one-shot that. Mimikyu, Smart Strike. Urshifu, Aerial Ace. Porygon 2, Smart Strike. Okay, Zard, we lose to that technically, but we have things on the team to cover for it. Ferrothorn, we have Sacred Sword. You know, yes, we'll get chipped from Iron Barbs, but we still do a lot to it. And then the other Urshifu, same thing. Okay. And then Solgaleo, we can ignore the defense boost with Sacred Sword. Palkia, neutral from, you know, Leaf Blade, max Overgrowth, stuff like that. Same thing with Dialga, you know, Sacred Sword. Raichu, okay, whatever. And then Seismitoad, we just said. Seismitoad, Blastoise, we already covered. Look at how much Kartana is covering down here. We've already, like, went past the top 30. And look how much it's answering. Alright, there's Torkoal, Rotom Heat. Okay, sure, fine. Kyurem White we can deal with now a little bit, especially if we can get speed on it, which we already have. Smart Strike. Okay, what's Rayquaza doing? Not much. All right, Cole is not really too relevant, and then now we're kind of like, you know, going into the bottom feeders here. So look at how much Kartana has a positive matchup in terms of like the top 30, top 40 that we saw. So all the more reason why, you know, teams are starting to think about Kartana a little bit more, right? So I expect a lot of these Watermons to drop a little bit, but not a whole lot. I still expect, you know, within the next month that Kartana will continue to rise in usage. As long as these mons are still relevant in the meta, all right, you're still going to see a lot more Kartana. So stay tuned for that one. Now let's talk about the counterpart for Kartana, and that is going to be the Ferrothorn. So now I'm taking a look at Ferrothorn. So also, if you look back at the at that tournament, there is a Ferrothorn there, right? This is Christian Caceres. So again, kind of like the same idea as Kartana. You have that grass steel typing on a rain team to help reduce that fire damage, because Ferrothorn just doesn't like Incineroar. But then what can Ferrothorn offer you that you know, that you just really can't really get so much elsewhere? Well, there's two kinds of Ferrothorn sets that are really strong. Let me just show both of them. Of course, this is the Leech Seed one. I put leak there. What the? I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. Leftovers. So this is the leftover set where you have like Iron Defense, Body Press, Leech Seed, and then Protect. You might even have like a Steel move in here somewhere. So like with Gyro Ball. But the other one. So this one, the whole point of this Ferrothorn is to like Iron Defense up, then go for hard-hitting body presses, and you know, just, you know, wall things out, and then have Leech Seed endgame where you're just alternating your Protects and Leech Seed, and then just getting recovery over time, and then Ferrothorn can just 2v1 things. But that's the more passive defensive Ferrothorn. Now I want to look at the more aggressive one, the Dynamax option. So the Dynamax option and the strong offensive one is the Assault Vest Ferrothorn. And now let's look at this set. You have Gyro Ball, you still get the Body Press, so you still get Max Steel Spike, you have Max Knuckle, but now you have something called Knockoff. Okay, and there was another one that oh, and the Power Whip, the grass stab move. So if you consider this, right, and you consider its bulk, these they typically go like a Brave Nature, right? Just because, you know, it's meant to be like played in Trick Room, meant to be offensive, meant to Dynamax, and it's often paired with something like a Kyogre here, because what you can do is you can Dynamax this Ferrothorn and start boosting up the Kyogres. And this type of Kyogre generally is like a Calm Mind Kyogre on these kinds of teams, although it can be like the straight Mystic Water sets, or even like something else on the Kyogre, like Choice Scarf. But the general idea is when you Dynamax this Ferrothorn, you are boosting the Kyogre, its defenses, and what you're also doing is you're clicking Max Darkness to drop special defenses. So even if Kyogre doesn't have Mystic Water, you compensate for the special defense drops, and then you just hit him hard with like Origin Pulses and Water Spouts. So AV Ferrothorn is very aggressive. And then when you Dynamax it, what's really like hitting it hard? I mean, a fire move obviously, but you know, if it's max, and if it's in the rain, you know, how much damage are you really doing? And especially after it gets all these defense boosts up. So again, if you look at the matchups, more kind of like Kartana, where it does pretty well against a lot of things. Like Zacian, you can Gyro Ball this thing. Instant, you can Body Press one-shot it after an Iron Defense boost. Kyogre, you can Power Whip this. Regieleki, you can Power Whip that. Grimmsnarl, Steel move it. Venusaur, what's Venusaur doing? Not much. You can just, you know, wear it down with Gyro Balls and Body Presses. Same thing with Rillaboom. Landorus, more or less the same thing. It'll just take, you know, physical damage and whatnot. Well, not technically, but you know what I mean. It just Body Press this thing to death. You know, Amoonguss, you can't sleep it. Tornadus, again, just, I mean, neutral Hurricanes, okay, sure. But even then, you know, just Gyro Ball it. You know, Calyrex, Knockoff. You know, one-shot it, Groudon, Power Whip, Yveltal, you can Body Press this. I mean, it does take neutral damage from like Oblivion Wing, so it's kind of like okay, but it's still a little bit better than the Kartana Yveltal matchup a little bit, just because you have so much more special defense. Calyrex, you know, same, you outspeed it in Trick Room, so that's always good, so they can't go for that. Zapdos, again, unless it has Heat Wave. All right, Zapdos isn't doing a whole lot to you. You can deal with it. Whimsicott and Didi, that's just Gyro Ball Food. Gastrodon, Power Whip. Alright, Steel Move into Mimikyu. Now, Urshifu can actually do something, but even then, is it really gonna like one-shot you? No, and then it's gonna take chip damage, and then it just dies next turn to, you know, either some kind of Gyro Ball or even like body, something else, you know. But then the Porygon again, body press that. An opposing Ferrothorn, you know, body press that. Solgaleo. Okay, you can deal with this, and then Palkia. What can Palkia really do to you? Not a whole lot. It's a little bit tricky. Same thing with Dialga. Body press this. Power Whip the Seismitoad. Power Whip the Blastoise. All right, Rotom Heat. Finally, you run into something that can really deal something with you, and then the Torkoal, of course, sure. All right, but again, look, Feeny, Power Whip that. Kyurem White, Rayquaza, Gyro Ball. These two things. And then now we start getting into other things, but again, like, it just looks so strong. I mean, you know, the AV Ferrothorn, especially when I was using it with like Calyrex Trick Room, it was so good. Like, just to be able to be a nuisance and then Dynamax it with these 4 coverage moves is really, really strong. You check a lot of the meta with these things, and you know, and like I was saying, when you have a meta with these 4 Pokemon running around, these 4 big water types, these bulky water types, you need something to deal with it and still be a nuisance endgame. Ferrothorn and Kartana can both do that. So yeah, I expect both of them to continue to do well. I think you'll see more top cuts from both Ferrothorn and Kartana. Again, they're really, really good on Kyogre teams, you know, especially with like Zacian. So like Zacian, Kyogre, and Ferrothorn or Kartana, like double steal into a Kartana rain team is actually really, really nice, and it's a team worth considering, especially now that it has done well. But it's good to see that Kartana has started to rise yet again, and Ferrothorn is just doing like Ferrothorn things, and it's good to see the rise in the AV set. This was the more popular one with the Leftovers one, but now the AV set is starting to rise as well. So again, let me know what you think of spotlight videos like this, where I pick a Pokemon and I talk about it a little bit and like what it can do in the current meta, and how you can use it. It's something I wanted to add to the channel a little bit. So yeah, let me know what you think about Kartana and Ferrothorn. Again, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And again, if you're interested in team building, a tier 2 sub to the channel is Team Fixing, where you can submit a Pokepaste to me and I will review it. I will optimize it with a video, and I'll test it out in some showdown ladder battles, I should say. If you're interested in team building, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel, where that is where you and I, we build a team from scratch on a Discord call, and you know, we'll go over a couple matchups, we'll explain some EVs, and you know, we'll do some damage calcs, and then we'll test it out in the battles, you know, the whole 9 yards for team building. So if you're interested in any of that, join the channel, join the Discord. All right, all of that is in the video description, and we'll be back next time with another Series 12 video. Until then, have a good one.